My mother, she was doing the best that she could as a single mother growing up in the 80s. That was the crack era. Crack cocaine hit a lot of the inner cities very hard. A lot of people became addicts. A lot of people were being arrested and put in prisons. And I was in the midst of all of that at that particular time period. And, sometime throughout my childhood, my mother ended up getting arrested and spending some time. So I wanted to go just let her know I was getting ready to leave the house. I was like, man, mom ain't up yet. This was kind of odd, right? I'm like, she's not awake yet.
Yeah.
So I went to go let her know I was getting ready to leave the house. And, I would never just leave the house without her being aware of it.
Right.
So I went to go wake her up. And when I touched her shoulder to shake her a little bit to wake her up, she didn't wake up.
Wow.
And, that's how I found my mom. So part of it was me even feeling like I should have did more that night.
Wow.
Maybe if I went in there to check on her.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Story Podcast, where everybody has a story. What's yours? I'm your host, Wayne Hyatt, and today we have a special guest. As always, our guests are always special. We're going to have a conversation. This is my brother, my friend, my co-host in our other podcast, Rooted and Ready. Check it out, Amazon, Spotify. And so we're going to have a talk, man, because we all have a story, and we're going to share ours. So with no further ado, my dude, my brother.
What's up with it, bro?
Welcome, man.
Thank
and
you.
Boogie.
Yeah, Murad, man. I'm
Welcome.
glad to be here. Man. It's my first time being on the Story Podcast. So
Yes, sir.
I'm glad to be here with you, bro.
It's relaunch. It's not new.
Yeah.
It's just relaunch, rebrand.
Right,
Yeah.
rebrand. Yeah, I love it. I love the rebrand.
Because you know what? Honestly, the Wham Get podcast, solid. Really enjoying it. Ups and down, in my opinion, only because, I just got into this game of podcasting and just really still learning it and trying to figure out what's the best move. I started out doing short, when I say short, meaning maybe 35, 40 minutes recording.
Yeah.
Then eventually start going into long. My conversations started going long. I didn't plan it. It just started going long,
Right.
hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half. And then I start seeing other podcasters who are doing it for a long time saying long content is the way to go. And I'm like, well, I've been doing it for a while now. And, not necessarily getting the results that they've been getting. You wonder hey, what am I doing that's wrong? But I'm doing it. I'm in the grind. I'm still doing it, And
Yep.
So, but at the end of the day, I was saying to myself, when people ask me, what does Wham Get mean? I have to explain it.
Yeah.
And if I have to explain that to you, that means the name itself is not catching, right? So I said, well, all the recording that I've done and the interviews and the conversations I've had with the guests, they all tell their story. They all share their story, share their journey, where they are and where they are now and how they're getting it done, right? And so I said, well, why not change the name and make it about the story.
Yeah, the story. Yeah, I
right?
like it. Yeah.
And so that's where we are.
That's where
the
it is
story,
right
man.
now. Yep.
And so I'm
I love
excited. I love the idea. I love the concept. I love the branding. And eventually I'm going to come up with the story T-shirts, the story cups. I want to have the story going across the back there. Because really everybody has a story, like I said earlier, and the story is still being written.
Right.
There's no, until we die, we have that story, that last chapter. You know what I mean? Well, until the next, we'll keep having chapters after chapters. Because our story is still being written, man.
Yep.
So I know your story is being written. Mine is being written. So what's your story, dog? What's your story,
Yeah, man. The interesting thing about the story is like you said, man, you have an opportunity to write it yourself.
Yeah.
Based on today's choices. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Whatever you're doing today is going to change the rest of the story. And like you said, I know a lot of people don't know each other's story. I think if we all knew each other's story, we probably have a lot more grace towards each other because we would understand why people are the way that they are, where they come from, what their background is, their experiences in life. And it's it kind of creates a better picture for you to understand the person in front of you.
That's good.
So, I think that's one of the things that keeps us divided is that we don't know each other. And if we got an opportunity to know each other, we'll find a lot more things in common with each other. We'll understand each other better, and then you get along better.
Facts.
But, podcasts and platforms like this gives people an opportunity to share their stories. So that's dope. I think the rebranding is tight.
Thank you,
I like
man.
that.
For sure.
Yeah, man. But for me, I'm 40 years old, just turned 40 recently.
Yes, sir.
And,
welcome.
Thank you.
The 40
thank
Club.
you for the 40 Club. Yep, I'm here, man. I'm here, and I'm excited. I don't feel old or anything like that. I remember what it was like when I was like 17 years old and I thought 30 and 40 was old.
Yeah.
But like when you're actually living life and enjoying life and doing things and you're moving and, putting your plans together and trying to execute, you feel like you're still like in your prime, So I'm not out here trying to dunk a basketball or nothing like that. I know I'm not in that type of physical shape anymore and stuff.
Wisdom kicked in.
Yeah. But as far as like my mind and my energy and things like that, I feel like I'm solid at 40 years old.
Yeah, man.
So, I'm a married man. And I have 6 children, and I'm in the process of like raising my family.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at right now at this moment in time. I'm like building my relationship with my wife. We've been married for 8 years almost.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And besides that, we have our 6 children together, and they're all at different stages. My oldest is getting ready to be 21 this year. My youngest is 5, and so I have 3 boys, 3 girls, and they're all age groups, between, young children into, elementary school and middle school, and then all the way up to, my oldest 2 kids who's a senior in high school and the other one's in college.
Wow.
And it's a very, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like there's always something going on. Like it's the busiest season of my life.
Yeah.
Right. I've never been this busy in my life.
Sounds like it.
There's always stuff to do. There's always somewhere to go. There's always, a kid that needs something or has an event or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just all over the place. So me and my wife are just really balancing that out and just trying to attack it each and every day to make sure that, we're getting all of our kids into, the extracurricular activities that they're interested in and kind of guiding them and molding them towards success. And, it's a challenging thing, but I take this challenge all day because I know what it's like to be on the other side when, things is going wrong and you're stressed out and, your life isn't going your way and you're making a lot of bad decisions. So that's kind of where I started, as far as like my background and everything. I started off as a young man born in Chester, Pennsylvania.
Chester.
Yeah, Chester, Pennsylvania. Yep, right outside of Philadelphia. And from there, moved around a lot throughout like the early part of my childhood. My mother, she was doing the best that she could as a single mother growing up in the 80s. That was the crack era. Crack cocaine hit a lot of the inner cities very hard. A lot of people became addicts. A lot of people were being arrested and put in prisons. And I was in the midst of all of that at that particular time period. And, sometime throughout my childhood, my mother ended up getting arrested and spending some time in prison. And I was in different foster homes and stuff like that. I have a younger sister, so me and her were like connected. That was like my baby. She was like my first kid. And, I basically, did everything I could to provide a safe atmosphere for her, try to protect her and kept her from seeing a lot of the stuff that I was witnessing.
The age difference?
My sister, I'd say about almost 4 years apart. It's like 3 years and change, something like that. 3 years and a couple months. So yeah, we're almost 4 years apart. So like growing up and stuff like that, like we lived in Philadelphia, Chester, Washington, D.C., Lancaster City. We kind of just bounced around York for a little bit here and there. And, some of it was because of my mom's drug addiction. Some of it was because she had, warrants for her arrest and things like that. Some of it was because just the living conditions of just being in poverty, having, getting evicted from certain places, having to move and find a new place to live, getting kicked out of places. Yeah. So that kind of made us like, we were like nomads, you know what I'm saying? Just wanderers, just going from place to place. And I remember like one night, me and my mom just laying up in bed and stuff like that. This is like years later, once she was, a better version of herself. And, we would just talk about like how crazy things were when I was a kid. And, we counted like something like 30 plus moves from place to place within like a 5-year period.
Wow. Just
moving around from spot to spot, just all that, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And just because of the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And, that was life though. So I never really found like any stability anywhere I can get comfortable, build a friendship, a group of friends, and kind of grow up in one area and in one environment. It was always chaos. It was always hectic. You know what I'm saying? My house was like a trap house. It was always drug dealers, always guns around, always, money and different drug addicts and stuff like that in and out of the house that my mom associated with. So that made life rough. But, I did what I did and survived through that.
Yes, sir.
Once she got arrested, she spent some time upstate in prison, and I was in foster homes for a couple years. Me and my sister stayed together, though, which was a blessing because that doesn't usually happen where they keep siblings together. So me and my sister were just able to stick together, and we had the fortunate, we were fortunate enough to go to foster homes that had loving parents.
That's awesome.
They were good people, because I know that doesn't happen for a lot of folks go into these systems, these child systems, and end up being abused even more.
Yeah, that's true.
So that wasn't our story, thank God for that. And a lot of, the people that we were in foster homes with, I'm still connected with today.
Yeah.
My mom found the Lord while she was in prison.
Praise God.
Gave her life to God. There was a church out here in Lancaster called Westminster Presbyterian, and they did, prison ministries for the women, wrote letters, go up there to visit them. They might bring family members and stuff to come visit those inmates, teach them the word of God, stuff like that. And my mom became real good friends with these ladies. They helped, lead her to Christ and help kind of disciple her through her journey. And she came home from her prison experience a changed woman. Wow. She was completely transformed, no more drug addiction.
Wow. That's God.
Yeah, it was all God. That was like my first experience, really seeing like how God could change somebody's life like that. With my own mother, just seeing her transformation. It was, if you knew who she was before she gave her life to Christ, like the version of her after she was a Christian woman was, night and day.
Yeah.
She still had the same, energy and charismatic. Her personality was very like open and loud, and she loved to have fun and joke around and just be, she had a joyful spirit,
That's awesome.
So, she was still the same old, but it was just like now she's just not addicted to drugs and making a lot of those bad decisions that she was making. But when she came home, that was like amazing to me.
Yeah.
Seeing that, and the unfortunate thing was she was diagnosed with a disease called sarcoidosis. Right, it's a lung disease that particularly affects a lot of Black women. Just I don't know what the nature or the history of that is, but just doing my research and stuff about it, I actually did my senior project on her disease because during the time period from the time that she was released from prison, she was declining with her health. Wow. Like year by year, you could just see her kind of fading away. And, her left lung completely collapsed. Ooh. The disease started to spread to her right lung. It started affecting other parts of her body. She was on a lot of steroids and medications. Wow. She was on a transplant list, just trying to, hope that she can get these lung transplants and everything will be good. But eventually, 5 years after her release, she ended up passing away. Oh, my. So I was 15 years old. I was my sophomore year in high school. And this is right after September 11th. So this was 2001. Yeah. Twin Towers and all that happens in September. That next month in October, my mom passes away. Wow. So that was like a pivotal moment in my life where, I felt like things were kind of better. Things were going in the right direction. I got my mom back. Everything's good. I was, had a nice little solid foundation of friends at the church that we had went to, friends at the school. I was playing sports. This is like the longest I'd been stable somewhere. Right. And now it's like my world was being shattered again. Yeah. My mom's dying. I don't know what's getting ready to happen. I never had like my biological father in my life, so my mom's always been a single mom. Yeah. And I didn't know like were we gonna have to move in with somebody because we're still minors, just me and my little sister. Yeah. My grandmother was too elderly to really like take on two kids to raise.
Two teenagers at that.
Yeah, well, my daughter, my sister was. I called her my daughter. It's crazy. Nah, but she's like my daughter. But
she was 12.
So she was. When I was 15, she would have been like 11. Yeah, 10 or 11. But taking on two children, raise them, that definitely something that was on my grandmother's plate. Right. My mom has some relatives like my uncles and aunts and stuff like that she talked to and, has decent relationships with, but I don't think they were in a position to really take on me and my sister either. We was in a situation where like even my uncle was going to take me and my sister in.
Yeah.
But he was living, I think he was in like DC at the time. And with that 7/11, I mean, the
9/11.
September 11th stuff, the him having a military background and stuff, he wasn't sure what was going to happen.
Right.
And it was kind of like he was kind of waiting and seeing how that was going to play out for him. But at the same time, I didn't want to move. I'm tired of moving. I'm good here. I'm a sophomore in high school. I want to finish high school here.
Right.
So I ended up talking to one of my best friends. Shout out to Andre Ellis, Mr. Ellis, the teacher. Go check him out. He's a elementary school teacher here in the school district of Lancaster. That's been one of my best friends for a long time. And I just talked to him and was like, "You think your parents will let us live with y'all? Because I don't want to move and everything like that. Like, let's let me finish high school.
Yeah.
And that'll be I'll be out on my own or go to college, whatever I decided to do. So it worked out where he was able to talk to his folks.
Wow.
And I moved in with my boy Andre and his family. They became my parents. They took on legal guardianship.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I could finish school and have a place to call home.
Yeah.
So that's my best friend. He has an older brother, Josh, and we've been family, for a long time. So I call both of them my brothers, even though we're not blood related, but
man.
his mom's my mom,
It.
and his mom and my mom knew each other, because
Correct.
me and Andre were such good friends that our parents, they talk to each other, and spend time together and things like that. So she knew my mom, and was always feeling like that was a good friend of hers as well.
Of course.
So they opened their doors, and that's where I pretty much lived up until my adult years.
Wow.
Now I did go to college at Thaddeus Stevens.
Yeah.
But got myself in some trouble and got kicked out of school. And the reason why I felt like after my mom had passed away, I was really in a dark place and didn't really feel like giving maximum effort to try to do the right thing. I was like, I kind of just did enough to get by.
Yeah.
If I finished with C's and D's every year, that didn't matter as long as I was able to go to the next grade. If I failed a class, I'll just make it up in summer school, spend a couple weeks over the summer, pass it, then go to the next grade. So I was just doing barely enough to get by and staying eligible to play sports and stuff. Go ahead, you had a question.
What made you have that thought? I guess the question is why.
What, with me going into that dark place?
Right.
I felt like it was unfair that God took my mom, honestly. And she was my number one fan. When I was playing football, I was pretty good at football. I'm not gonna act like I was, world class, going to the NFL number one draft pick type, but I was, as big as I was, my height, my speed, my size, a lot of the coaches kind of look at that as a prototype that they can mold into a great player. So I had a lot of
a potential D1.
Yeah, they could look at my size and say you have a potential to be a D1 athlete. So a lot of the coaches and recruiters would come to those games and spend time talking to me and trying to recruit me to do the right thing, stay out of trouble, finish, and there may be a scholarship offer for me on the other side of that. But I knew that my mom loved football. That she was a sports fan.
Yeah.
So she used to be hyped coming to my games, and she put paint on her face with my number on it.
That's awesome, man.
Number one mom on the other side of the face.
Oh my gosh.
Big poster boards, be out there in the crowd cheering. She was my number one fan. And I think a lot of it came from the time that she spent on drugs.
Right.
And while we was in foster care, it was almost like she was making up for that lost time and giving me and my sister all the love, all the attention, all the support.
Yes.
So that was fueling me. You know what I'm saying? As a young boy, being on the football field and you got your mom riding with you, she's up in the crowd wilding. She go pick up all the friends and stuff like that. We're going to the game tonight.
Let's go.
She's one of the homies.
Let's go. Let's go.
So it was different, man. And anybody that knows my mom, before she passed away, the few people that are still in my life, they'll tell you my mom was the truth. She was legit, man. Everybody loved her. All my friends loved her and stuff like that. So her being gone was huge part, taken out of my life, man. And I felt defeated. I felt man, it's not fair. She's finally the good mom.
Right.
Why would God take her so young?
Right. Yeah,
she was 40 years old, the same age I am now is when she passed away. So, just looking at how I am as far as my my energy and my youthfulness and I still see I got years ahead of me and stuff like that. 40 is young.
Right.
So this is the age that my mother had passed away. And, I just felt like that was super unfair.
Yeah.
And part of it was me being mad with me being kind of mad at God.
Right.
Subliminally at the time, I didn't really realize it. That's why I was doing a lot of self-destructive things.
Right.
But, in the back of my mind, that was where it was coming from. Like I blamed God and was upset with him because of, him taking my mom. And I'm like, yo, she gave her life to you. Like she changed her life around and was serving you and was the best version of herself at that time. Like, why would you take her so young? So that's part of it. And then another part of it is like the night before she had passed away, I remember like she was getting sicker. She had the oxygen. She was on a lot of medication, and she wasn't able to leave in and out of the house as much as she had used to at one point. So she had missed that last game that I had played before she had passed, and I played well. I remember I came home from the game that night. She wasn't able to make it. It was an away game. I came home from the game, and she was sitting up, waiting for me to get home. And, she asked me how I did. I was like, yo, Mom, I did this. I played very well. The team won. We just had a conversation about the game.
Yeah.
And then she was like, all right, well, I'm going to bed now. So she ends up going to bed. And, I told her I was going to stay up a little bit later because you always watch the highlights on, what's that, Football Friday?
Yeah, okay.
So, on the local news, they have all the, like, high school football highlights and stuff like that. So I was watching it. And, I kind of heard, like, she was kind of breathing and snoring a little differently.
Right.
Because she was only working with one lung.
Right.
So, like, her breathing, like, I paid attention to that a lot. And, like, I'd mute the TV and, like, I'd listen for it. So that's like, a lot of where my insomnia came from, too. I was diagnosed with insomnia early in the game. Just, just always kind of being, like, not, like, I was always afraid to fall into, like, a deep sleep. Because I wanted to listen to make sure my mom was good. So, So I went to check on her, and like it was hard for her to sleep. Sometimes she would be up and throughout the night.
Wow.
Or her sleep pattern would be broken and things like that. So like if she was asleep, I was like, let her rest.
Yeah.
She's good. So, but I thought that something was a little off that night. I just felt it, and I didn't do anything about it. I just let her sleep. But there was that next morning when she was gone. So that next morning, I went to, check on her again, woke up in the morning. And we always had like a Saturday morning practice where we would gather together at the school with your team, coaches, the trainers. Because, the Friday night games, you would come in Saturday mornings and the trainers would, check you out, make sure that you don't have any lingering issues with injuries, ice you down real good. Go through some stretches and stuff like that, and then you would watch a little bit of game film of like the upcoming, or you watch a little game film from the previous opponent, and then you would start looking towards your next opponent. So that was like a quick couple hours in the morning on Saturdays. So I went to go just let her know I was getting ready to leave the house. I was like, man, Mom ain't up yet. This was kind of odd, right? I'm like, she's not awake yet. So I went to go let her know I was getting ready to leave the house. And, I would never just leave the house without her being aware of it. So I went to go wake her up. And when I, like, touched her shoulder to, like, shake her a little bit to wake her up, she didn't wake up. Wow. And, that's how I found my mom. So part of it was, like, me even feeling like I should have did more that night. Wow. Maybe if I went in there to check on her because I felt something was off, maybe I could have saved her. Maybe I could have did something different. So I always battled that, that what if in the back of my mind, along with being mad at God. So those two things were like the seeds that the devil needed to really gain access to my mind and really like take control over like how I thought and saw the world. And because of that, I went down a real destructive lifestyle. And whatever I felt like was part of my culture and things that I gravitated towards in the streets and stuff like that, that's what I did. So I ended up selling drugs. I ended up staying out late in trap houses. I'd be ripping and running the streets. I bought drugs, I sold drugs, I smoked heavy weed. Never did any hardcore drugs or anything like that because I seen how destructive it was for my mom. I stayed away from that. Like I never popped pills or did anything crazy, no powder or anything like that. But I smoked a lot of weed and I drank heavy. So between the two of those things, and just being in the streets and hanging out all the time, doing those things, that's where my lifestyle was. And eventually I ended up getting caught up in like right after I had my oldest son in 2005. And right after that following year, I ended up catching a case for a robbery. and that I spent a couple months in the county prison. The case was pending. We had to go to court and hash all that out. But I ended up posting bail, right? So I bailed out. And then while I was out on bail, that's when I was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen, communicating with different lawyers and stuff like that. My co-defendant, he never got out of prison. He stayed in there the whole time. He never bailed out. So he had his lawyer, fighting from his perspective and trying to, represent him. So it was a lot. When you have co-defendants, everybody's like trying to figure out the best way out of the situation and who's going to tell on who and what deals can be offered and all that sort of thing. So sometimes these court cases can drag out. So it was about 2 years from 2006 to January 2009. From the time that I'm trying to think. I'd say like 2006 to 2009, about 2 years, somewhere in that time period, because it was like right in the beginning of 2009.
Okay.
So that January is when I finally ended up going back into court. It was my turn. My co-defendant had already took a plea deal and, was willing to testify against me to help himself get less time. So that's one of the downsides of the street life. Sometimes you will have people snitch on you and bring you down with them.
Yeah, man.
So, he had ended up getting caught up for some other stuff. And figured he'd help himself out by telling about the robbery that we did. And all that together, just ended up with him like pleading guilty. Yeah. And, if it would have helped convict me, he was willing to testify against me because they would have offered him less time. So for me, and I could talk about this case and everything like that, it's over and done with. But we both served our time and everything. So I ended up just doing the same deal that he did. Like if I plead guilty, this will save me from having to go to trial and having witnesses brought up there and all the evidence being presented. So the plea deal
possibly could add more time.
Right, exactly. Because now you're just ticking everybody off. Right. Like if they do find you guilty and convict you, you're going to get the maximum amount of time that they can give. So you don't want to play around with things like that, especially if like it's a very low chance that you have of beating the case. So with everything that I was told, all my own research, you communicating with your attorneys and stuff like that, just go ahead and plead out. You're not going to get less time than the guy that you did it with. Just either you do the same time that he's doing or you fight it. He comes to court and testifies against you, gets less time, and you get way more time. So you got to play it smart.
Because you just wasted their time.
Right. And I'm looking at it, at that time, I'm 22 years old. So I'm looking at it like I had my son and my daughter. My son was 3 years old. My daughter was, she was only about 7 months when I started my sentence, like when all this is going on. And I ended up just pleading guilty. And I'm doing the math. I'm like, all right, well, if I go to prison 22, 6 years, 28, I'm still in my 20s. Like, I'm good. I still got a long life. I'm not planning on getting out of here anytime soon. So I'm like, I can do, a large portion of my 20s. Still come home in my late 20s. My children will still be young enough that I can impact them and raise them and stuff like that. I'm doing all the calculations. So I'm like, the guilty plea is cool. So I went in there and I pled guilty. And, for that first time, like, walking into the prison cell, I felt like I was like relieved, man. Like really, it was crazy. It was like the complete opposite of what people would normally expect, how they would feel going into a prison sentence like that. But I let out a sigh of relief. Like I felt like I was finally able to like stop running the streets, stop doing what I was doing. Like everything just came to an end. Like a big weight was off my shoulders.
It's almost like you knew going in that what I'm doing, this is not right. Like you knew it all in deep down somewhere. What I'm doing is not right, but I just can't fight off this rebellion, this anger, this upset at God, and this feeling that I'm having, and the stronghold that I never had. With those two things that you mentioned earlier. And so once you got into the prison, you're like, all right, I don't have to hide, I don't have to dodge, I don't have to run and hide from the cops, none of that stuff anymore.
None of that. Exactly.
In a way, you're saying you're free.
It was like complete opposite. I felt freer in prison than I did out here.
Facts.
Because like all these things became vices to me.
Yeah.
Like I was tired of my phone ringing. Like,
Wow.
you know how many like phone calls you get from fiends that want to buy drugs off you.
Right.
All the women and girls that you messing with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And that lifestyle is fun for a period of time. Like, it was enjoyable for a period of time. You know, sex, drugs, and money. Like, what else?
Right. That's what they rap about.
Yeah, that's it.
Right?
That's it. Like, and when you're living that lifestyle, it's like exhilarating. You get like a rush doing things like robberies, doing things like selling drugs, doing things like going to the clubs, buying bottles, going to the hotels with all these girls and stuff like that. Like, you feel like, yo, I'm the man. I'm living out what these dudes is rapping about.
Yes.
And I'm really out here doing it, getting money and all that stuff. And, you know, I'm not saying I was out here like kingpin or anything like that, but just doing the basic level stuff just so I could survive and have enough money to spend and do things that I wanted to do without having to clock in at a job every day. That's what I was doing. But at the same time, like I knew I was different. Like I wasn't supposed to be out there doing that.
Yeah.
And like I didn't feel like this is something that I can do long term. You know, a lot of guys they envision themselves as thugs, gangbangers, you know, street dudes, and they just want to live that life.
But that was
forever.
never your vision for yourself.
Nah, that was never my vision for myself.
What was your vision?
I did it temporarily. I wanted to be an athlete. You know what I mean? A professional football player. Like,
so you were good.
I was good, and I thought that eventually one day, like my size, my talent, my skills can take me there. And you know, that was, I think, you know, a lot of little boys' dreams, and stuff like that. But even if I didn't make it to the pros, like I felt like I'd be involved in sports somewhere. You know what I mean? Even if it was coaching, you know, being a trainer or something like that. You know, assistant coaches, like just kind of working your way up to becoming a head coach and things like that. And who knows? Like if I would have went to a D1 school, that may have been my path. Like even if I didn't make it to the pros, a lot of those dudes end up coaching for the same teams that they played for in college. So I just felt like I was just going to be in sports and athletics and stuff like that for most of my life. And then especially like if having kids, like I was like, yeah, I know like I'm going to train my kids up to be great athletes too. But yeah, that's really all my vision was at that time. But you know, once I ended up getting, you know, kicked out of college because I caught a drug case in college. They kicked me off of campus. So that was the end of my sports playing career, my college career. I didn't have nothing to go, you know, or anything like that to like fall back on since I got kicked out of college. I started, you know, trying to work and get a job, but I could never keep a job. I was always going from job to job because I call off too many times, show up late too many times, you know, want to go out Friday night and I'm supposed to close. Guess who's getting called off, right?
I'm not coming in.
Yeah, I'm going to the club, man. I'm not going to work tonight, you know, so stupid stuff like that.
Right.
And so a job just wasn't going to work out, so I'm hitting the streets. I'm doing what I do. And like I said, like the whole time, like I knew I wasn't supposed to be out there doing that stuff. I was having fun. I was doing my thing, but deep down inside, I was hurt. I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know how to stop myself from doing what I was doing either. You know, like it's hard when you're in the midst of living that lifestyle to come to your own decision one day. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like if you're a smoker and you just quit cold turkey. That's a hard thing to do. You know, you got that nicotine in your system, like. That's what creates the addiction, and it's hard to just stop smoking cold turkey. Some people got to get those nicotine patches or go to therapy or whatever the case may be, substitute the smoking for something else. So, you know, at least you're not damaging your body with the cigarette smoke. But it's very hard to just with your own willpower decide that you're just going to stop smoking. So like when you're addicted to that type of lifestyle and everything that comes with it, it's hard to just be like, you know what, I'm going to go to church on Sunday, live a good life, go find me a wife,
it's not practical.
Get me a job and work 40 hours a week and save up for retirement. Like I wasn't going to just switch into that mode all of a sudden. So the only way God can get your attention and get you to go, you know, is something serious has to happen.
To stop you.
It's got to be like a near-death experience or, you know, prison. You know?
And prison was it for you?
Prison was it, man. That's what got me fully locked in, you know?
There's nowhere else to go.
And I was good. Like I don't know, it sucked going to prison. But like I was comfortable. Like it's crazy. Like I was like, I'll get through this. All the crap I've been through in my life,
I'll get through this.
I'll spend 6 years in here. And me with like me, who I am as a person, like I've never felt like something was impossible, you know, to overcome or to achieve or anything like that. So I was determined, like I'm going to lock in. I'm gonna get better as a man. I'm not gonna come out of here the same way I am going in. You know, my 2 kids need me. My little sister needs me.
Yeah.
I got people out here counting on me. Like, I'm gonna do the right thing. I know it's a long time, but I got plenty of time to lock in and become better.
100%.
So let me execute while I'm here. And I just went into that mode. Like from day one, I wrote a request down to the chaplain. Got a Bible sent up to my cell. Started reading, studying, praying every single day. Having, you know, family and friends send me books and mail stuff into the prisons. Yeah, from day one. I wasn't playing around. I'm like, I'm locking in, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm so sorry. I let y'all down. I messed up. I'm in this situation. But I guarantee you when I come home, it's not going to be the same old Murad. Like, I'm going to be a different man.
Who were you writing to at the time? Because, your sister that was depending on you.
Yep, my little sister. Both my baby moms. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, yep, my 2 kids. My 2 kids are to 2 different women.
Right.
And, you know.
What about the mom and dad who took you in?
My mom who took me in, right? Mrs. Ellis. And
your boy,
I'm trying to think, my boy Andre, a couple friends and stuff like that. But you know, my stepdad, like the person that I call him dad, even though he's not my biological father. He dated and was with my mom when I was younger. But I stayed connected with him and stuff like that. I call him dad. And that's my dog, you know, that's my man. He lives in Atlanta right now. But, you know, like I'm not his biological child.
Right.
But, you know, he's always loved me like a son and treated me like a son and stuff like that, even though him and my mom weren't together.
So when you were in there, they were making sure you're good.
Yeah. I had some folks that were sending money on my books and coming to visit me and stuff like that. I went through some rough periods where there were some droughts, you know, because it's like out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
You know, when you're doing a 6.5 year prison sentence, you know, year 1, everybody misses you.
Yes.
But the year 2, like they get used to you not being there.
Right.
So,
year
you know.
3 and 4 is like, you ain't even exist.
Year 3 and 4, they got stuff to do. You know, people out here getting married, people out here, you know, moving up in life, getting different jobs and careers, moving, buying houses. Like, I'm in this prison cell, you know, or this inside these walls, or you know, for this amount of time.
Right.
But 6.5 years of life that's going on the outside. Yeah. There's a lot going on. Yeah. Right. So people people were together in relationships when I went to prison. And broke up while I was away. People that didn't have kids had kids. Yep. You know, people that weren't even graduating high school or college yet graduated high school and college. Now they're starting careers. Yeah. So within that 6.5 year period, I come home to a different world. Yes. You know, and you know, people are living lives and doing things much differently than what they were 6.5 years ago. So me being able to stay connected with, you know, the few people, kept me, you know, solid, where, you know, I still have my connection to the outside world, even though I'm going through my transformation and everything in here.
I wanted to find out, because, you know, you're probably one of the closest person I'm talking to that had experience in prison for that long. Yeah. So, and you know, you see in movies, and you may hear some other people experience on TV who talk about how their life got threatened when they're in prison, and the fights, and the forced sex and all those those crazy things that happen in prison walls and get thrown into what they call the pit or something.
Yeah, the hole.
The hole, right?
Yeah, you go to the hole. That's like the solitary
confinement, correct. So did you experience any of those? You know, whether the fights or the shower drop the soap kind of nonsense, you know, being the whole, you know, did any of those stuff?
Yeah, I mean, going in, I didn't know what I was going to get myself into. Like, all I knew is, like you were saying, like stuff that you see in movies and on TV shows about how prison life is. Right. So I was worried about that, because I'm like, oh man, I don't want to be fighting dudes every day and, you know, having to, you know, deal with Bubba trying to, you know, jump on me and stuff. Like, you go through those thoughts.
Right, yeah, for sure.
And, you know, I really just trusted God. That was my whole thing. I'm like, look, God, I'm going to just trust you to take care of me while I'm here. Yeah. Right? Because I'm locking in. I'm focused on you. Right. So I need you to protect me while I'm
through.
Here. Come through for me, Lord.
Yeah, come through.
You know, hold me down in here, protect me, keep me out of that nonsense. Yeah. So the good thing is that, like, once they transferred me from, like, so while I was in the county prison, there's folks in there locally that you know, right? Because everybody in Lancaster County that gets arrested for something, everybody goes to that county prison. Yeah. So you know people from being out in the streets. So I was cool in there. Yeah. And I'm not the person that really had beef. Right. You know, a lot of the stuff that you do in the streets comes back to bite you. Correct. You know, people do people dirty. People do a lot of snake stuff, a lot of robberies and things like that, where, you get me, I'm gonna get you back.
Right.
So I never was into that type of thing where, I kind of had like my own little ghetto code of like how I operated and did business. So I didn't really have no beef with a lot of people out in the streets, a couple people, but it wasn't that serious where I felt like my life was always going to be at risk. So people always knew me, respected me, showed me love. And it was like that in the county because I knew a bunch of people from out in the streets. Then you get transferred to Camp Hill, which is like the central hub for all prison or all counties throughout Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So there's 67 Pennsylvania counties. No matter what county you get arrested in, you go to that county prison first.
Right.
When you have to start serving your state prison sentence, they ship everybody to Camp Hill. Camp Hill is like right out there outside of Harrisburg.
Yeah, I know.
And that's where you kind of get processed into like your state prison sentence.
Yeah.
So now you go through like testing and like they do medical stuff. They check your teeth. Like there's a lot of people that actually catch cases just so they can go get dental work done because they can't afford a dentist. So, I'll rob a convenience store, get me a little 2-year sentence, go upstate, you get 3 meals, you get a bed to sleep on every night, you get some free dental work. Come home in 2 years, you good, right?
Good.
I'm telling you, there's people that do that stuff. So, I mean, you go through all of that stuff in Camp Hill, and some of it is like psychological evaluations.
Right.
Because there's some real crazy, like, schizophrenic people, people that are, bipolar, people that have all types of, like, personality disorders that commit serious crimes.
Yeah.
So they do have to do, like, psychological evaluations and stuff just to see what level of criminal you are. Right? And then based on those evaluations and the tests and things like that, it'll be crazy questions, too. That like they'll ask you like if you and Fred, were walking down the street, and some guy is walking towards you and he just bumps into you without saying excuse you.
Right.
Do you A, punch the dude in the face?
Right.
Do you B, shrug it off and just keep walking?
Right.
Or you know what I mean? Like they give you all these different scenarios and how you answer the questions is going to determine how crazy you are and if you need extra counseling and extra therapy and extra classes. So, you can lie and manipulate those things and just be like, man, I don't want to do all these different crazy classes, so I'm going to just answer the correct way.
Yeah.
But it's really kind of just seeing where you at. And, some of it is asking you about, like, your drug use and your abuse history, were you abused as a child? Did you experience trauma as a child? Because all this develops criminal-minded people later on in life.
Yeah.
So as you're going through all these testings, then they decide this is like they give you a prescriptive plan, right, to make parole, right? So here in Pennsylvania, you have a minimum and a maximum. Okay. Some states just give you like a flat sentence where if you got 5 years, you got to do 5 years.
Right.
But here in Pennsylvania, you might have 5 to 10. So the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has different laws where you have a minimum and a maximum. So the 5 years is the minimum. That's the least amount of time you'll do. Yeah. Doesn't mean you're getting out after those 5 years. And it depends on what you do during those 5 years. So they give you this prescriptive plan. And within that is like classes you have to complete. You have to, not fight with folks and always, do your part to clean your cell and stuff like that. Whatever the requirements are, you got to check these things off your list. Then you go before parole board and they decide if you've rehabilitated enough to be released. If not, they'll say we need you to take another class. We'll see you again next year. So now you might end up being on year 6 of your 5 to 10 year sentence. You know, so they can go all the way up to 10. You can max out and do the whole thing. So while you're in Camp Hill and they're processing you through all of that, they decide what you need as far as your plan is concerned, and they'll send you to a prison that's kind of suited for that. Right. So they sent me to SCI Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, right in the middle of the city, basically, is one of the oldest state prisons in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
A lot of guys from Pittsburgh actually were there like as like their home jail. That's kind of like because they're so they're closer to home and it gives you better access to your family and stuff like that to be able to come visit you. So you can kind of get rewarded in that way through the prison system. If you're on your best behavior, they can ship you to a prison that's closer to your home, which isn't as hard for you to be able to get phone calls and visits and stuff like that, So Pittsburgh, that's where I met, a lot of good people that ended up helping mentor me during my time in prison. I knew a few people in Pittsburgh that was from the streets, as well, out here in Lancaster that got shipped to that same prison. I had an uncle
That was in.
I had an uncle that was doing time there.
Wow.
He was on like a 5-year sentence. Yeah. So I seen him in the yard one day, and he just was like, Murad, like he called me by my nickname, right? Yeah. And then I'm like, who in here knows my nickname? I turned around and it's him. He's like, what up, boy? I'm like, yo, Unc, what you doing here? Yeah, Unc, man.
Like, fam,
yeah,
shout out
to
Unc. Here,
yeah,
fam?
shout out to Unc 15, man. We call him 15. Yeah, wow. Unc 15. That's my boy, man. But yeah, so we I have people there that I knew. Yeah, and it was kind of cool that like cool I had a few people that I knew that I could connect with and stuff like that. And for the most part, I learned in that prison particularly. I don't know everybody's prison experience, right. But if you're a guy that stays out the way, like I'm not involving myself with trying to like choose sides.
Right.
I'm not joining your gang. I'm not joining your gang. I'm not from your hood. Right. I'm not from your streets. Like I don't want to be affiliated with none of that. I'm just here to do my time.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. I'm gonna go to the church services. I'm gonna read my Bible. I'm gonna go work out, but I'm not out here to really politic with anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just here to do my time and get out the way. The few people that I know, that's who I'll talk to and chop it up with. And like for the most part, when they, a lot of dudes got their own street codes.
Yeah.
And their own morals and values of how they handle their thugness.
For sure.
Right. So, for the most part, if you see guys that's really like not trying to be bothered with, you'll let them go.
Yeah.
A lot of ones that's like trying to be tough is the ones that's like, let me go see how tough he really is.
Right.
So you invite those problems by trying to portray somebody that you're really not.
And you had height on you too.
Yeah. I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy. I'm not gonna act like that's not part of the decision making on some folks too.
They intimidated them. For a little bit.
So but sometimes that could be the opposite. It could work. It could work the opposite way. Because if I go beat up the biggest guy, that shows how tough I really am.
Right.
So it's like I'm almost proving myself by going at him.
Yeah.
But like I said, so I think that part of it is like me being humble.
Yes.
Not really wanting to be into too much.
Right.
And just doing my time, man. I was focused and locked in, and I trusted God. So like I really didn't worry about those types of things. Yeah. There was a couple altercations that I got into, more verbal than anything, but nothing ever escalated to the point where we were throwing punches or anything like that. I always was able to affiliate myself with the older guys that were in the prison. So I was 22 years old when I started my sentence.
Right.
All the guys that I hung out with were lifers and like older people that could have been like my father's age, and that's because I was on my job. Like I wanted to be a better person. So a lot of times one of the interesting things is that these guys that were serving life sentences became like the model citizens of the prison. They became the mentors to the younger guys that were coming through the prison systems because they don't have an opportunity to go home.
Right.
And they spent their time investing in young guys that were like me, just wanted to do the right thing, staying out the way. Now, if you was a 20-year-old knucklehead that was out there fighting every day, cussing out the guards, sneaking around doing things you ain't supposed to do, getting caught with alcohol in your cell, they ain't really had no rap for you. Like he's a lost one, man. Right. We ain't gonna be able to get through to this one. He's wild. He's out of control. He either gonna be dead or back in prison in a matter of time, anyways. So for guys like me, they're like, all right, we can mold him.
Yeah.
And like it was their way of still having the ability to kind of have some sort of legacy.
Yeah.
And so I mean, as crazy as it sounds, the people that helped shape me into the man I became were triple life sentence guys, double homicide murderers, guys they're spending their whole life in prison. Man. Some of these guys were dudes that took me under their wing. They had already been in prison for 40 years.
Wow.
Double the time my age. So they started serving time in the 60s and 70s and 80s and stuff like that. By the time I got to prison, my whole life is only half of the amount of time that they were in prison.
Yeah.
So a lot of those dudes were like, yo, this young 22-year-old guy, like, he's got it.
Yeah.
And, they used to tell me all the time, like, you going home and being a father, being a good man in your community, taking care of your family and stuff like that is like, it's a victory for us.
Yeah.
Like, it gives me a reason to get up every day and pour into the next young guy. Because you going home getting to live your life is like, I'm able to live through you. Any type of wisdom I'm able to pour into you, you go out there and execute that and never come back to prison. I'm doing my part still. I still have a reason to exist. And a lot of those guys found purpose in that,
That's a blessing when they can pour into younger generation. Really, that's really what it is. Walk me through the day or the week or the days leading up to I'm going to be free.
That's tough, man, because you always kind of have it in the back of your mind that it might not happen. I might got to sit here for another year. Really? Kind of nervous about how parole goes, right? And your life is really in their hands.
Right.
They get to sit there and make a decision on whether or not you've rehabilitated enough to go home and be a productive citizen again.
Right.
They can sit you down for another year. They can make you take another class and then come back next year and try it all over again. Mm-hmm. You ever see the movie Shawshank Redemption?
One of my favorite movies.
Right? You remember how many times he kept going before the parole board?
Yeah,
that was Morgan Freeman's part, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until at the very end when he just stopped caring.
Right.
Like he just gave it to him straight. Because all the time it was like he was begging for them to release him.
Correct.
You know, and he's sitting there nervous and he's, you know, like, hey, I completed this class and I'm a better person now. And I'm going to make all the right decisions when I get out. And they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
You're faking it to try to win us over so that we can release you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Parole denied. And now you got to go back to that jail cell and sit for another year. And you keep doing that over and over and over again. They can do it as long as your sentence remains. Right? So the tail end of your sentence, your maximum, is how long they can continue to make you see the parole board year after year after year. So you always, I've seen guys, you know, perfect record, like while they were in prison. Did everything they were supposed to do, completed all their classes. They go up to the parole board. You know, they plead their case as to why they've rehabilitated and why they should be released. Parole board drills them with questions, you know, and sometimes the victims play a part in it too. Whatever type of crime you committed out there, the victims have an opportunity to be notified of when you're being released.
Really?
So that plays into it. So a lot of guys that have victims, you know, that their crimes ended up victimizing people. They have like, you know, restrictions where they're not allowed to have no contact, you know, you can't be around those people, you can't reach out to them or anything like that. And they also play a part in your release as well. Really? So if you've done something crazy, you know, you violated, you've killed somebody, you know, done some type of crime that victimized another person, even if it's a robbery, the victim has the ability to say, I don't think he should be out.
Wow.
Like, I don't want him to, you know, like, I feel like he could stay in there the maximum amount of time that his sentence carries. And the parole board can factor that into their decision making.
For sure.
Right? You know, how violent the crime was.
Yeah.
You know, how affected the victims really are.
Right.
What their input was on your release. That all plays a part into it. So I just prayed and just like hoped that God would just give me favor the first time around. But that week, so you go see the parole board.
Right.
And then I forget exactly how many days it is, but there's a time period when you walk out of that room and you don't know how it went. Like, you hope that it went the way that you want it to go. And you have to wait, I don't know if it's a week, I can't remember. It might be, you know, 2 weeks, a month, however long that period is. I think it might even be like 21 days or something like that they have to give you a decision. I might be wrong. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but you're just waiting and waiting. And it's like the days are going by super slow. You know, you get nervous when it doesn't come like right away, and you're more towards the end of that 21 days. And then when you finally get it, it's a piece of paper. They call it a grain slip, right? So you get your grain slip.
Is it green?
Yeah, it's a green piece of paper, right? So they give you this green slip, and you open it up and you read through it, and it'll tell you what the parole's decision was. Sometimes it'll say, you know, they call it a hit. You'll get like a 1-year hit, which means you got to sit for another year and wait until the next year.
Okay.
Other one, they'll say, you know, approved for release. So now it's like your heart's just like, yo, I'm getting out of here.
When you
like,
saw that, your heart
it's
was
real.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting out of here. And now the process starts of I don't even remember the whole process from start to finish, but there's a time period that you have to go through, like getting a job lined up, deciding on whether or not you're going to go straight to like an apartment, a house, or whatever home it is that you're going to be living at, or you go to like a halfway house, which is like a transitional thing, where, you know, there's buildings that's kind of built like dorm rooms, shared spaces. People will be living there that are just getting released from prison, and then they spend like 3 months there, kind of building their life, you know, getting a job and getting money together to buy an apartment and stuff.
That transition.
So yeah, that transition period. But like you have a counselor or like a manager, like a unit manager on your cell block that you spend time with during that time, and they're helping to kind of develop that plan for you on like what it's going to be like when you get out and how you're going to do this and that, and just checking those things off your list. If you got any fines and stuff that you still owe, they don't release you until those things are paid off. So you have to pay certain things, to be able to get released as well.
Wow.
So yeah, all that goes into effect, and it's like a countdown every single day, man. You just get closer and closer, and it still doesn't seem real until you actually get to walk outside for the first time.
Wow.
It's almost like you still feel like at any given time, like something could go wrong and I'm going to be stuck here, But yeah, it's a lot of nerves, a lot of anxiety. And I remember my brother Andre is the one to pick me up, right? Nice. He picked me up from the prison the day I got released. And, it's been over half a decade now, 6.5 years. Yeah. Since I've even like been in a car. Right. I've been walking around the concrete, barbed wire fences, these steel staircases and stuff like that. So like now I'm in the car and like he's just driving off. We're only going like 35, 40 miles an hour. To me, I felt like we're going 150. Like I'm holding on to the side of the car, like, yo, slow down, man. What are you doing? Like everything was like I was trying to adjust. Yeah. Right? Because it's a long time, like just little things like that.
That's crazy.
I'm like, man, this thing feels like we're flying. Wow. He's like, I'm not even speeding. I'm going the speed limit. But it just felt different, moving at that speed after that long of not being in a vehicle and stuff like that. I was going to say, I can imagine how it would be for like guys that spent like 10, 15, 20 years in prison.
But before you dive into that, like you said something that kind of have me thinking. When they approve for release. Yeah. And like you said, leading up to the couple few days, anything can go wrong. Yep. Can they make any changes even after the approval?
Only if something happens like with you.
Like a fight.
So if, and that's one of the things that's dangerous too. Mm-hmm. You never want to let anybody know that you're getting ready to be released. I mean, this is somebody that you really close to and trust. But people do stuff like that intentionally. There's a lot of haters. A lot of dudes that you don't have great relationships with that they know if a guy's getting ready to get released, let me go to it and just still off on him. I'm going to just punch him and start a fight. Yeah. And now he's getting dragged to the hole and has to spend time in the hole and all that sort of thing. And now that gets reported. That goes on your record that you were in a physical altercation, a fight broke out. Oh my gosh. And now you get your parole. It gets rescinded. So now they have to, they can. I mean, you can go through the whole investigation. And if they find out like you really had nothing to do with it, dude was just bugging out. Right. They can, they can oversee that and just be like, he's still gonna get released. Yeah. But sometimes it just don't work out that way.
So you keep that on the hush. Keep that to yourself.
Keep that on the hush, man. You don't let nobody know. Then like the day of, you start packing up your stuff and you out of there. Everybody, oh, you getting out of here? Like, yeah, man, I holler at y'all, bro. Stay up, man.
But they know the deal.
Yeah. It's like that, man. So I mean, I spent 2 different incidences where I did go to the hole. I was in solitary confinement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did 30 days my first time, and then the second time was 25 days.
30 days in the hole.
Yeah, 30 days in the hole, man. And it was like I was still young, like my first year in the prison, right? Okay. And I was still young, didn't know how to really control my temper and my tongue. Right. And, it was 2 guards that just felt like they wanted to press my button just to see, he's the new guy in here. Right. Let me see what I can get away with. So, like, they came in my jail cell to do a search, which they're allowed to do for contraband and stuff like that. But the things that they were doing and was, like, picking at, like, I was like, bro, like, I don't have no drugs, no weapons or anything in here. Like, why are y'all going extra, like, I felt like they was doing things intentionally to disrespect me and things like that. Just the way that they were talking. Right. So I talked back. I wasn't trying to like win the argument, but I was just like, I wasn't backing down either. You know? Right. So yeah, I was talking crazy to them, and they're like, they end up snatching me up, man, and throwing me in the hole. Oh my god. And it's weird going to prison in prison. Right. Like, so, I mean, they turn you around, put the handcuffs on you, drag you out of your unit, take you down to the cell, and now you're inside a smaller cell with less stuff. You don't get out, right? They got like a little food slot that they'll slide your trays and stuff to. When it's time for your meals,
you get up for shower though,
no
right?
recreation. You get 3 showers a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That was it.
Oh my God.
So like, and they cuff you up to take you to the shower. So like, you got to put your hands through, they cuff you up, and then they'll unlock the door, walk you down to a shower, and like, it's a stand-up shower, but it's got like a gated, little doorway that they open and shut. They'll uncuff you so you can shower. You got 2 minutes tops, soap on, soap off, rinse off, and they dragging you right back to your cell. Yep.
Oh my
God.
God.
And then like the trays that you get, like the prison trays is always nasty, right? You don't have the greatest, options and stuff like that for food.
No fine dining.
No fine dining in there. And you don't have access to commissary and other things that you can purchase while you're in the hold. That's part of your punishment. You're not in general population no more, so you don't get those perks.
Yes, right.
You down here, sit in your cell, shut up. We feed you the bare minimum. 3 meals a day, and that's it.
Wow.
So, and then those meals are so light. Your tray is like, oh my goodness, man, you're starving.
Wow.
So your last meal might come at like 4:00. That's your dinner time. Now from 4 all the way to like 6 a.m. the next day, you just in there hungry, and you've had these light meals. So like a lot of dudes, you go down to the hole, you come out 30 days later, 90 days later, whatever your whole sentence is, about 20 pounds lighter, 30 pounds lighter. Dudes be in there getting slim. You be in there starving, man. I'm telling you.
That's crazy.
So like a lot of dudes occupy their time just doing calisthenics. You're in your cell doing push-ups, pull-ups off the edge of the bunk, dips off the edge of your mat, off the edge of your bed, jumping jacks and stuff like that in your cell. Trying to stay mentally sharp, trying to stay in shape, trying to occupy your time, and
Wow.
It's crazy, but
it's serious.
Yep. The second time wasn't really my fault.
Okay.
I kind of got into it with another guard, but he was really in the wrong at this point.
Okay.
And he just kind of overstepped his authority and was just doing too much. And by that time, I'd had like 4 years in.
Okay.
And I had developed a good enough reputation with the staff and the counselors and the officers. They like, nah, he ain't really do all that, like what this officer's saying. And that officer ended up getting fired, not because of me, but there was like another incident. So he was just a problem guy in the first place. But
they still gave you 25.
I still had to sit there for 25 days while they did their investigation.
Right.
Because they're like, while this is going on, like, you still kind of have like charges pending.
Right.
So you got to go down here and sit.
Yeah.
They're like, it's unfortunate, but if we, just let us do our investigation, we'll figure this out, we'll get you out of here, and, it won't be on your record that you got in trouble the second time.
Wow.
Right? So the first time was on me. The second time, I ain't had nothing to do with it, but it was like a Joseph situation.
Yeah,
I was innocent.
Got to do it.
I'm like, man, I got to sit here. So yeah, man. But yeah, that's almost 2 months in the hole. It was rough.
God took you out, man, and put you in a vehicle that was going 35 miles per hour. You felt like you're going 85 miles.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you said that you remember when you realized, I'm never coming back here? Like, when did it dawn on you? Like, I'm never coming back here. I'm free.
Yeah, like I felt like I just felt like everything that I had learned in there and who I became, there was no way I was going back to prison.
Right.
Like I was going to be good, and I had a lot of plans and figured that eventually like ministry would be one of my things. So like discovering who I was as a man of God and like where God wanted me in ministry was always like that became my new vision for my future and my life. Like I knew that like as part of the fivefold ministry, like I have that gift of being a teacher. So even while I was in prison, I was teaching Bible studies. I was having the chaplain there invite me to like lead the church services and stuff like that and bring a word and things. Like I'm not an ordained minister. I don't have no type of theological background in school or no Bible study, no Bible schools or anything like that. But I felt like those 6.5 years, I had done so much research and so much studying, getting my concordances and my Vine's expository dictionaries and all my little tools and resources. I'm breaking down the Hebrew and the Greek languages of the Old and New Testament. I'm studying history. I'm looking at a lot of the historical information that supports the Bible. I'm comparing that to other religions. I'm studying Islam. I'm studying Hinduism. I'm studying Buddhism. Like I studied as much as I possibly could because I wanted to make sure what I believed in and was practicing was the right thing to be doing. Right? I didn't want to just become a Christian because I seen how it changed my mom's life. And then like my dad, he's Muslim, so I grew up around a lot of his a lot of his influence as well.
This is the
with
one
the
you call
Quran.
Dad, or your
No, the one that's in Atlanta right now. That's the one that I call Dad. Yeah.
Right.
So that's
he's Muslim.
Yeah, he's Muslim. So he's been Muslim mostly all my life.
Right.
And even my uncle that was upstate with me, he was Muslim as well. So I learned a lot about Islam and everything like that. But like same thing, I didn't want to just become a Muslim because my dad was a Muslim.
Correct.
And I'm familiar with it and things like that. So I really went into just full out, like, let me just study this thing.
Yeah.
And I became a student of God. My mentor used to always tell me, like, I went to the school of the spirit.
Yeah.
That's what he called it.
That's right.
So just being in that environment where you have plenty of time to read, study, pray, meditate, like God was doing so many things in my heart and my mind, changing my character and everything like that. It was amazing. So once I really discovered who I was as a teacher, as part of the fivefold ministry, like it became easy for me to like break down scriptures, teach people the word of God. I had a nice little following in prison. There's people that were like listening to me, and I'm 20. I'm in my early 20s during my prison time. But the way that God was moving through me and bringing so much revelation and truth through His Word, and then being able to articulate that and share that even on church services on Sundays. There'd be times where the chaplain would call me down. Shout out to Reverend Jones. He'll tell you like he's still part of my life. He's one of my OGs. I check in with from time to time. Great mentor, great man of God. He's an activist. If you go out here in Pittsburgh, you're gonna find Reverend Jones. Reverend Jones does major things out in Pittsburgh area and with the community, with the churches, with the youth, with the police. He's involved, man.
So God really had a plan for you. As you knew that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, look in hindsight, looking now, like, wow, all this stuff happened after my mom died. But my story didn't end there. My journey didn't end there.
Yep.
Even though I was spiraling, God said, you know what? I'm going to let the whale swallow you up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The prison was the whale, where you got there and you found peace and you found that relationship. You start building that relationship.
Yep.
And God said, okay, now I'm ready for you to go out. You know what I mean? And start doing what I call you to do.
Yeah.
Now it's ready for you. Now you're ready mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, to be a presence for your children, right, in their lives.
Yep.
Right? And that's what, and then God spat you out. And now you are ready. That chapter of your life, when you started now, when you're free, now you're in, what they call it? You're now a civilian, right?
Yeah.
What was that first year like? First few years like, getting involved in your children's life, being there with the moms, the communication. You know what I mean? And also, as your goal, you wanted to make sure ministry was also for one of the forefront things you start.
Right.
How was that year transitioning? Because remember, you weren't in the general public,
right, for
6 years. So what was that like, the first year?
Yeah, that was rough.
It was challenging, I'm sure.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy transition, and I didn't have the ability to go straight to an approved like home plan,
right?
Because your parole officer, whoever gets assigned like to your case, they have to approve where you're going to be living to make sure that there's no drugs, no guns, no things that could put you in a bad situation again to get in trouble. And I didn't have nowhere to go when I was getting released. So I went to a halfway house first, and it was like right outside of Reading, a little town called Wernersville. They have a halfway house out there, and so I spent maybe 2 months somewhere around there. My older brother Josh, right, the ones that I moved in with, he ended up getting an apartment in Lancaster, but it wasn't ready yet. So they were still doing some things and, had to get it prepared and ready for him to move into. And then I was going to live there. We were going to be roommates and stuff and live there. So that was my home plan. I submitted it to my parole officer. He went and checked it out eventually when it was ready to go, and that's where I ended up moving in. That was the first place I lived when I got out of prison.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was just trying to get a job and build my income. So the only place that I could get a job that was like easy, quick access was a pub, right? Now typically they don't let guys that are on parole like work in places that serve alcohol and stuff like that, because it's an opportunity for something bad to happen. But I didn't have, like, my case was a robbery.
Right.
So I didn't have like a serious alcohol issue with my background and things like that. And I never had something that was like super addictive where I couldn't break it. Like I wasn't like an alcoholic. I drank just to party and have fun.
Correct.
So parole officer didn't have a problem with me working there. So that was where I worked at, like their carry out. I was able to just, work the register and make my money and stuff like that. But the whole time I'm putting in applications at other places. Right. And it was like right down the street. Like I could walk to the pub and then walk right back home after my shift was over. Great. So it was easy, quick cash, stuff like that. And I was constantly putting in applications trying to get better jobs with more pay, better hours and things like that. The relationship with my kids' moms was always off, right? Like I wasn't the greatest man to them.
Right.
So there was a lot of built up animosity towards me, especially leaving them out there all these years as, single moms to raise my kids. My daughter's mom, me and her relationship was a lot worse than me and my son's mom. Me and my son's mom have a longer history. We were together in high school.
Okay.
Kind of grew up together. Our families are connected and know each other pretty well. So, it wasn't as much of a challenge.
Yeah.
Being able to work with her and co-parent to an extent. I still had a lot of challenges though. It wasn't easy at all. And then especially later on when I, got into a relationship and wanted to start dating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge. Like I had to work on it because most of the people that you had like negative experiences with still see you as the person that you were before prison. So it's hard for people to kind of wrap their minds around this changed, transformed version of yourself when all they knew in the past is the abuse, the arguments, the fights, the lies, the cheating, all those things that happened when you were in a relationship with them.
Right.
So, it took some time to like break down those walls and just demonstrate over a period of time just by showing and proving that I was different. Even though I wrote letters and apologized for all my behavior and stuff like that, like I did that. That was part of my therapy.
Right.
While I was in prison trying to become a better person, I wrote the mother of my children, you know what I mean? And was like, I apologize for what I put you guys through and everything that I did, the lies, the cheating, all those sorts of things, you know what I'm saying? Not to try to get back in a relationship with them or anything like that at all. I didn't have no desire for that. I just wanted to make things right. Correct. If you ever have an opportunity to forgive me, I'm asking for your forgiveness. If not, I did my part. What you do with me asking, for your forgiveness is on you.
Right.
But me changing and becoming a better version of myself and then also acknowledging how I hurt you is, me growing and maturing.
For sure.
And that was part of my healing, so that I could kind of overcome certain things and, put myself in a position to like really be in a relationship with a woman that I do love. And I'm going to take that relationship a lot more serious because of who I am now. And part of it was the experiences that I had with my children's mothers that helped develop me into the man I am now, because I know what I put them through. So I don't want to repeat that with the next woman, So, it was hard. I had lots of fights and arguments and stuff like that. But it wasn't me like doing things wrong that would cause these fights and arguments. It was more of like they were so defensive. They were so protective of, not wanting to really allow me to be involved in their lives. And then when
past history. Obviously.
Past history. It's rough. And like, they didn't go through that same transformation themselves. So, specifically my daughter's mom, she's been stuck in her ways and hasn't really changed in a lot of ways in her attitude and her thinking and her behavior and stuff like that. So it's hard for her to see me as the version I am now.
Even to this day.
She's gotten better.
Okay.
But my daughter's also about to graduate high school, so there's really not as much need to communicate with her. Correct. My daughter's almost grown.
Correct.
And we talk directly now instead of going through the mom.
Correct.
When you're raising the children, toddlers and grade school and all that stuff, both parents have to work together to try to figure out how to raise the child.
For sure.
But once they get to a certain point, then the child is more independent. Correct. They're getting ready to be an adult and start their own lives and careers or whatever it is. So now the child has more say-so in which parent they listen to.
Correct.
And it got to the point where both my kids' moms, had to eventually allow their, the kids to come live with me.
Wow.
Where it just got to the point where both my kids decided like, I'm I would have a better opportunity at life, living with my dad, and things that he can teach me and things that, I can get and learn and experience in his household than with my mother's households. And I'm not saying this to like denigrate my kids' moms.
Right.
And, I still respect them. And, I know that they've got their own journey and things that they're working on. My son's mom, me and her have a solid relationship.
Right.
We do joint events together for holidays and birthdays and Super Bowl parties and stuff like that. She gets along with my wife and all that. So, we've come a long way. It wasn't always like that, but we've come a long way.
And the fact that, while you're away, they were still holding it down for your children.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the respect factor still have to be there, even just for that.
Right.
They didn't abandon them. They make sure they were still there, present in whatever form that was for them, Fast forward into, you got your life together, and when did you meet your queen?
Yeah, my queen. So
that smile on your face when I say
that. Yeah, that's my light, man. I love my wife.
Shout out to the wifey.
Yeah, shout out to my wife. Yeah, but she. So it's interesting because I had first gotten involved with a woman that I had known since high school. I'm doing business out here. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to plant these seeds and start this network marketing business as like a side hustle. But then I started getting more involved in it and really trying to grow and build a team and all that sort of thing.
Right.
If you've ever been in network marketing, that's what it requires.
Right.
You got to
either
sell a product, build a team, get people recruited, all that sort of thing. So I was doing good. I was pretty successful in this, just getting started. And she was somebody that saw what I was doing. I was posting things on social media, trying to, rally people together and build this team. And she wanted to get involved. She hit me up, DM'd me, and was like, tell me more about what you do.
Right.
So we started talking, got together a couple times in person, and it was all business for me. I wasn't really looking for a relationship. This is early. I just gotten out of prison. So, I figured that we could work together and stuff. And like part of it is like, now I have to spend time with you to help build your team.
Correct.
So that I can get those benefits and the residuals and all that sort of thing. So me and her spending all that time together just was like, oh man, like this might go somewhere. Like we know each other. She had been through some things. And I felt like she was mature and in a different place now in life like I was.
Right.
So we just ended up started dating. We were trying to be, work towards marriage.
Right.
And, I did propose to her at one point. So we were going through marriage counseling and all that sort of thing, but she wasn't the person that I was supposed to be with. And, a lot of things started to develop once we got deeper into our relationship.
Yeah.
And, we had, huge fallout. And ended up, breaking up.
Wow.
And, there's a crazy story behind all that too.
Right.
But I was in the situation where me and my former fiance were living together, and weren't together. You know what I mean? Like she's
roommates.
We're roommates in the same household. And, at that time, I'm like determined. I'm like, I'm not going to let this relationship fail. Like, with everything that I've been through, like I'm a good man now. I want this relationship to work out. I'm signing this up for marriage counseling. I'm doing everything I can. I'm praying. I'm bringing, I'm doing everything I can to try to solve our problems and bring our relationship together and make this thing work. But it's like I was trying to force God to do something and co-sign something that He didn't even ordain.
Right.
Like that wasn't the person I was supposed to be with. So no matter how much I was trying to do the right thing, it was doomed. It was bound to fail.
Yeah.
And as a result, like I said, like at that particular time, now here I go working at Giant, right? This was like one of my next jobs that I got. I was an overnight stock guy.
Okay.
I unloaded the trucks that would come in and I would stock the shelves and stuff like that, all third shift work. So that morning, my wife, right, she was a phlebotomist and she draws blood and she's got odd hours, and a lot of times she's starting her day at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So, 6 a.m., I'm at the end of my shift, finishing up in the aisle that I was working on, and she's coming into the grocery store to buy something. and she just happened to be in my aisle. So this is like one of those like real like love story type things. Like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing how you guys found each other. She literally walked into my aisle. I'm stocking stuff, and I'm just doing my thing as a customer service type of guy.
Right.
Hey, ma'am, is there anything I can help you find?
Right.
She's like, yeah, I'm looking for this. And I forget what it was. It was some type of tea, right? So I'm like, all right, well, maybe it's in this organic aisle because it was some nice, high-tech type tea.
Yeah.
Some different stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's go check over here in this organic aisle instead. So she followed me over there, and I was looking for it. I'm like, boom, here it is. Found it for her. And she was like, oh, thank you. And that was it. I walked back, kept doing my thing. Next thing you know, like I'm clocking out. I'm walking out the door, got my bag on and everything, get ready to walk out to leave. One of the cashiers like, hey, she was like, come here real quick. So I go over to her. She's like, some lady left me her phone number and told me to have you call her. So I'm like, I'll open up the note and this has her name and phone number on here. Now I'm not even thinking. I'm like, who gave you this number, right? Like who is this person? So I didn't even call like immediately.
Okay. He's playing.
But yeah, I just because I work third shift, so like I'm going home, I'm tired, I'm ready to take a shower and go to sleep. So I don't even remember exactly when I called, but it was like maybe that next week or that weekend or something like that. But I just called just to see like, who is this? Like, whose number is this and everything. And she was like, hi, my name's Allegra, and I'm the person you helped out in the aisle that day. So we just started talking, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And super nice, I wasn't really thinking nothing of it because I was still working on trying to figure out what I was doing with my current relationship.
Right.
Even though I wasn't like, we weren't together. We were still trying to just figure things out. And that was that. So like eventually me and my, former fiance, just it didn't work out. And I ended up calling Allegra, my wife.
Yeah. Did she move out or you moved out? The former fiance?
We both left the apartment.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was a lot of things that happened. Police got called. She had done some things in the house and like broke some furniture and stuff like that. And
it became toxic.
Yeah, it was very toxic and stuff like that. So the police showed up. And we ended up both getting kicked out of the place because it was like a violation of our lease agreement for having the police there and stuff.
And breaking things.
Yeah, breaking things and all that sort of thing. We both ended up having like cases on each other again. Had to go to court and hash all that out. Now, we both just dropped it. No charges or anything like that pressed against each other. But we just left each other alone, after that. And so right after that, or no, at this particular time, I was still like living in the house with my former fiance, and long story short, we broke up. But then I ended up calling. It was Valentine's Day. I ended up calling my wife, and we just started talking that night. And like the relationship was over with my former fiance. So from that point forward, we just started communicating regularly.
Yeah.
She would come by and visit me and things like that because I didn't have a car or anything like that. Like I was starting my life over again.
Correct.
Right. So around the same time, my best friend's dad was getting he had dementia. He was battling cancer.
Wow.
So like all this at the same time.
Sorry.
So I'm helping. Mom Dukes out with taking care of Pops. My older brother ended up getting himself in a situation where he ended up having to go spend some time in prison as well.
Wow.
And it was like back-to-back things. Like my relationship just failed. Pops is dying. Bro's locked up. Like it was like all this stuff was happening. And my wife was like really there for me. Yeah. Like for no reason. Like there was no reason to. Like she just ended up liking me, felt like I was the person that she was supposed to be with. Like God told her she was my wife before he told me.
While he's working on you, he already told her, okay, that's him.
Yeah. That's
your boy.
If you hear her tell the story, she'll say that she told her coworkers, I found my husband after she left the store that day.
Wow.
So, however God communicated that to her, she was confident.
That's how it is.
And she locked in with me from that day forward and, was there for me, was at my dad's funeral when he died. helped me kind of navigate through all the nonsense that I was dealing with.
Yeah.
And like, I really felt like I was just going to be a single father for a long time. Like, I just wanted to just raise my kids, my two, my oldest and my my two kids my son and my daughter. So that summer was like, we're going everywhere together, just dad and the kids, right? And like, I didn't have enough money to take us on no nice vacation or anything like that, but we just picked a different thing to do like each weekend.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're going to the aquarium this weekend. Let's drive to, Ocean City and a close beach or something like that. Let's go on a, what's that place called? With the little safari rides. They have the animals and stuff like that you get to check out. I forget what it's called. It's not too far from here. We did like
Dorney Park?
No, not Dorney Park. No. It's
is it Six Flags that have this?
No. It's like an actual like animal park. Like you go on there. It's got like you're on like a bus and you're taking a tour through the park. And there's giraffes and there's some wolves and there's a bear. And
I know Six Flags have the safari section.
Yeah,
that I went to.
Well, I ain't had Six Flags money, so I was going cheap. It was something local in PA up in the mountains somewhere.
Kalahari, I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere. I forget what it's called. It'll come to me.
Yeah,
but we were just doing things like that. Like we went to a cave.
Wow.
I forget the name of the cave too, but
caves are fun though.
Yeah, you go through a cave, you see all those like stalactites hanging down, and it's cold, and stuff like that. And they're like, you got some guy that's kind of your tour guide giving you all the info and everything like that. So that was pretty cool. Like, so like I was just on a mission, like just me and the kids. That's all I'm focused on.
That's beautiful.
So Allegra was just there as like a friend.
Yeah.
Right. She was like supportive. Yeah. She was encouraging. We can read the Bible and pray together and stuff like that. I knew she was a woman of faith. So like I really didn't want to like go too deep into my relationship with her at first. But her consistency was just like amazing to me. And over a period of time, like she never forced it. She never was like, like I want you to be my man or anything like that. She just played her part. It was just real sweet, real caring, real loving, real kind and supportive. And like that's what I needed because I was going through it. Like my first year out of prison, I was trying so hard to do the right thing. And it just seemed like things just kept failing. A lot of issues, and then like baby moms taking you to court for child support now, and a lot of it was bitterness and resentment. Like I've been out here taking care of your kids all these years, right? Like I need help, and it's like I'm just trying to get my life together. Like I don't have money to really give you right now.
Came out.
Yeah, so a lot of that was in play, and it was hard. It was hard financially. It was hard relationship wise. Yeah. But I knew that like I would rather struggle on the outside and be free than go back to prison. Right. Because I gave up and just went back to selling drugs because it's easy. Yeah. So I just kept struggling. I just kept going from job to job, trying to, keep putting in applications. I got a certification to do flagging. So, I was out there directing traffic around construction sites, making some good money doing that. Then, the 1 year I ended up getting laid off. I went and got my CDL license, started driving trucks. So, like, every job I had paid more and had a better schedule. And I just kept going from job to job to job until I got into the career that I'm in now. That's beautiful. And truck driving just kind of opened that door for me to get into management with what I'm at, or where I'm at now. So, all that it was rough. Like you asked about my first year getting out, how that first year was adjusting to the baby moms, to finances, to the jobs, and trying to get my money together. I mean, I probably had like 10 setbacks where it felt like I was starting all over from scratch. Like built things up a little bit and then everything would fall apart. And I'd be starting from zero, from scratch all over again. Got to start building my money up. Because one of the things is like child support. Like the child support system is so crazy because like you have all this back support that you owe because, when your kids are, getting welfare benefits and things like that, and you're on child support, but you're in prison. Right. Like all that stuff is just adding up. Really? So you come home, I probably had like 8,000, 5,000, something like that, anywhere between like 5 to 8, I think, in like back support that I owed for my oldest son. That's just for one kid. That's crazy. And what happens is like you can work your whole year at a job, be making your child support payments, but it's only just chipping away. they'll give a portion of the child support payment to the actual parent, right? To the kid's mom, and then the rest of it goes towards back support. So you're paying off your debt. And then when you file your taxes at the end of the year, if you were getting like $1,000, $2,000, right? Because I'm not claiming my kids on the taxes, so like I don't have any dependents to claim, so I don't get those child tax benefits. Right. So whatever little bit of money I'm getting back goes right to your back support. They take all of it.
Wow.
So it's like I don't even have no way to really like put enough money to the side to start building towards something. Like I'm literally check to check.
Wow.
Getting money taken out my check every week to child support. I don't get a tax return at the end of the year.
Wow.
I still got bills to pay. I got parole fees and fines I still got to pay off on, and I still got to live. I still got to travel. I still got to put gas in the car. I still got to buy food and deodorant and soap and lotion. Like all your expenses is coming out of your check, and I understand that. That's what everybody's got to deal with.
Right.
But it's a different circumstance when you're just starting from the bottom at like a $10 an hour job, because that's all that's offered to you at that time with your criminal record and that huge gap in your work history.
Yeah.
So when you're filling out applications and they see you didn't have no work history between 2009 to 2015, like where were you during that time? Right. And then you have to always check the felony record on it. So it's really like an uphill climb
for sure.
But God had so much favor in my life, and my faith in God, just trusting that He would just take me to that next level.
Right.
Like doors began to open, opportunities began to present themselves, and I was able to progress and become more and more successful.
That's awesome, man. For someone who I've been through that kind of lifestyle, make bad decisions, wrong choices, going through, a loss, with a parent, and then it starts spiral. Because it happens, and they take different outlet to deal with their issues, and then they get incarcerated, and now have to start over. What would you say to that person? I was going to say what you say to a younger Murad, but what would you say to that person?
To that person, and that's one of the things that like I really do take pride in. Like all of my personal experiences, I can teach somebody else how to navigate through those same things. Sure. I'm not the only person that lost a parent at a young age. I'm not the only person that grew up in the streets or went through foster care homes.
You're not the only person that lost a parent and made. Because not everyone that lost a parent made that choice.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So understand your situation, but there's also a better choice to make. You made that choice, and others who have made that choice, right?
Yep.
But God still had His hand on you.
Yeah.
Right. So then what would you say to that person who made that choice?
Right.
Or lost a parent but don't know what choice to make yet.
Right.
But on the verge of making a choice.
Yeah, you're right. And it's, we all have a choice to make, right? And I could have used my mother's death as motivation, and said, I'm going to go out here and be successful and try harder in school and on the football field because I want my mom to be proud. I'm trying to, honor her.
Correct.
Even though she's not here. And there's a story about the two twins, right? Twin brothers. And they both had the same experience in their childhood with an alcoholic father. One grew up to become a successful businessman. The other one grew up to become a drunk, homeless guy, right? Out here begging on the streets. Both of them had the same childhood experiences, twin brothers, right? And during an interview, a person was, asking questions about what made you so successful. As the one brother, and he said, because my father was an alcoholic. So that was his motivation to become successful.
Yeah.
He never wanted to have that type of experience for his children, so he became successful. He never drank. He stayed clean and sober all his life. They asked the same question to the other brother who was a drunkard and out here in the streets begging, what led you to this life? Like, what happened? He said, because my father was an alcoholic. Same answer to the same question, but two different paths in life.
Yeah.
So I could have done that. I could have used my mother's death as motivation to go out and become the best version of myself and honor her and make her proud and all that sort of thing. But I didn't.
Right.
I allowed my grief to take over and lead me down a path of like, I don't even care about consequences or anything. I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. So for me, like, I feel like talking to folks and being able to mentor young people and share my story and things like that with people, you know, I would tell them that same story. Like, you're at a place right now where you have a choice to make. Right. And in this moment, this is like planting a seed that's going to determine the next 10 to 20 years of your life. Yeah. You know, not saying that you can't plant new seeds like I did.
For sure.
But I spent almost a decade, like throughout my late teens and 20s, you know, wasting away because I was doing things that I wasn't supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. Now, all those things were life lessons. I learned a lot and I grew from those things. For sure. But the opportunity to get it right and do it right from the get-go, instead of allowing things to get so bad and so toxic and so much into like a downward spiral that you have to spend years recovering from that. Right. You know, don't put yourself in that position right now. Like, here's things that I can do for you as far as pointing you in the right direction, connecting you with different men and leaders, connecting you with a local church that can pray with you and mentor you, connecting you with people that also care about, you know, what's going on in your life and things like that, and helping you to be in a better position. I know that not everybody is comfortable, you know, learning from strangers and opening up and telling people all their personal feelings and experiences in life. But you got to talk to somebody. 100%. You know, because if you allow that stuff to just sit inside and you kind of internalize it and deal with it in your own way, it ends up becoming something cancerous and toxic to you. 100%. And it ends up being acted out in your lifestyle, your decision making, your behavior, and things of that nature. So, you know, for those people that have those experiences, I can tell you, like, I've been through that. I know exactly where you're at right now, what you're feeling, and how you're angry and upset that things have turned out the way that they have. And to this day, man, I still cry about my mom. Of course. You know, I'm 40 years old. I haven't had my mom in my life for over 25 years. Yeah. Right? I've spent more of my life without my mom than I have with her. Right. Right? At 15 years old, that's a very short period of time to have a mom. Right. So my mother never got to watch me graduate. My mother wasn't there for my wedding. Yeah. My mother she never got to experience having grandchildren. Right. Right. And those are things that, you know, like I tear up when I talk about those things. And, you know, when I look at my kids and I'm like, man, like, my mom would be such an awesome grandma. Yeah. Like, my kids don't know what it's like to, you know, have grandma. For sure. And, you know, that's a hurtful thing, even now at 40 years old. Of course. And because you knew the type of person your mom and the joy she brought to you. Yeah. Man, if my children get a chance to experience this, it would have been so dope, you know? And for her too. Yeah, for her, I'm like, man, she didn't get to be a grandma. Right. You know, and I know she would have loved that role. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's almost like she got to start from scratch with her grandkids as the good version of grandma. Right. And, you know, I got to see the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of my mom, where she was, you know, this person beforehand. Right. And now the transformation side, like, this is the mom. I love this version of mom. Yeah. So, like, I got to see the whole thing. But, like, now she gets an opportunity to be grandma, the great. From the very beginning. From the beginning. You know? Yeah. So, yeah, those are things that still bother me. So, like, I know what people you know, feel and experience when they lose people. Yeah. And I've lost a lot of people, man. I've had a best friend commit suicide. I've lost, you know, my grandmother. I've lost aunts, uncles, cousins. I've lost friends, people I've went to school with, and things like that I thought was gonna, you know, we were gonna live life forever and grow up together and stuff. Have died in car accidents. Yeah. Died from drug overdoses. Died from cancer and things like that. You know, so I'm very familiar with pain, trauma, death, loss, grief, and you know, neglect and feeling abandoned and isolated and alone, depression and anxiety. Like, I've experienced all of those things. Yeah. And I feel like there's really no better person to talk to or to help you navigate through that than myself. Yeah. You know, and I know there's people that have degrees that have went to school and became counselors and psychologists and therapists. And those are great people. Yeah. Right. And sometimes you can study and learn a lot from books about how the human mind works and how experiences in your past affect, the person and stuff like that. But there's no better teacher than experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you know that the person in front of you has been where you've been, walked where you've walked, experienced what you've experienced, it's like I trust you more 100%. with my experiences. I can share things and open up to you about things because I know you know. Yeah. So like the therapist may not have had experiences, but if they're helping somebody navigate through grief, but they've never lost a close family or friend, they're just going by what the textbook says on page 97. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. This is what I learned in school about how to handle grief. So this is what I'm going to spit to you and feed you, and hopefully that works. Yeah. But the person that's been through it, like, I know. Yeah. You know, like, the emotional. Yeah, you can't follow what it says on page 97 of that textbook sometimes. Page 97. You know, like I was just making that up. But you know what I mean, though? It's different.
Check out page 97.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I just feel like, I can almost predict the future. Yeah. Right? And, not even being prophetic, but just seeing what seeds are being planted today is going to tell you the outcome of what's going to happen 100%. With your harvest.
Come on now.
So if you're sowing seeds of destructive behavior, alcohol, drugs, promiscuity, rebellion, things like that, it's only going to produce drama, toxicity, pain, imprisonment, violence. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
What
like
you sow is what you're going to reap.
Yeah, it's all going to predict that. So change the seed. Yeah. That's really all it takes. Yeah. Change the seed that you're planting. Yeah. So like I know if I plant an apple seed, I'm going to get an apple tree, or the fruit, it's going to bear that seed. You're not going to plant an apple tree and get oranges. No. It just doesn't work that way. No. So in life, all of our decisions and the choices that we make are the seeds that are planted that's going to reap a harvest one day. The Bible says that God is not mocked.
Come on, man.
A man reaps what he sows.
Yes, he does.
Right? So there's no way around that. It is a principle and a law, a spiritual law of life, that choices and decisions are the proverbial seeds that we plant that's going to end up reaping us a future harvest. And if you want a different harvest, you got to start planting different seeds.
100%.
So
that's the piggyback on that verse. It starts by saying, do not be deceived.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled, right? God is not mocked. Don't trick yourself into thinking that what you're doing, God don't know the foolishness you're doing, right? And you're tricking God. You can't.
Yeah.
It is He who have made us, not we ourselves.
Yep.
So like you said, change your seed, because the seed that you plant is going to reap. It's going to grow.
Yep.
And it's going to manifest in your life. Whether it's 5 years from now, a week from now, 6 years from now, 6 months from now, it's going to manifest if you keep planting that seed and keep watering that seed.
Absolutely.
You can plant it, and if you choose to leave it alone, it will grow. But if you water that seed, you're in a whole lot of trouble if it's a bad seed.
Yep.
So I like that. It's a good thing to say. Now, right now, as your story is still being written, you're a father for 6, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
21, 18, or 17?
20.
No, 20.
17. 12, 9, 6, and 5.
9 and 6. So I have a 9-year-old myself. I have a 7-year-old. And Trinity or Charity? What's her name? Wisdom.
Yeah.
I was right in there.
Yeah,
that's my girl.
Somewhere around
Wisdom, she's 12, but she's turning 13 this year, right?
Yeah, she'll be 13 in June.
Because she and Micah are the same age. Yep. Micah's 13 in March. And I know those three is busy. I mean, the teenager, they start, smelling themselves. Start arguing back and start, think they know what they're doing. But I know the younger ones, it's a busy household. So with, like you said earlier, you're a busy part of your life right now. But would you say it's the most rewarding part of your life right now?
Absolutely.
Part of your story?
Yeah, without question.
Without question, right?
Without question. And I still struggle, it's,
of course.
It's a lot.
We're humans.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but not just like in my character and stuff like that, but like with finances and stuff like
Right.
that. The bigger the family, the more stuff the more stuff costs.
Right.
So, I've always wanted a big family because just sharing about my life.
Right.
I don't come from a big family. I've come from a broken home.
Yeah.
I come from, just me and my little sister just kind of on survival mode throughout most of our lives.
Right.
So I figure I want to have a wife that's cool with having multiple kids.
Right.
I want a big family that I could just pour my love into and raise all these kids and give them the life that I never had growing up, right?
Yeah.
So this is the most rewarding thing is being able to see my kids thriving.
I love that.
And excited, being able to walk in the house and your kids are like, Dad's home. And it's exciting that Dad's home because I get to play with my kids. I get to have fun and teach them things and all that sort of things, all that sort of stuff. And I'm not wealthy, as far as finances, right? I'm wealthy because of the love, the relationship that I have with my God, the relationship that I have with my kids. That's all the wealth you need.
That's it.
And I have my health.
They're in good health. They're in their right mind. You're there for them.
That's it. Overall, I'm wealthy.
You're wealthy.
You know what I mean? There's people that have all the money in the world but don't have what I have as far as family, love,
peace,
relationships, all of those things, man. But as far as financially, I'm not wealthy.
Right.
I'm still getting by. I still make enough money to take care of my family and stuff like that. But, my kids don't know that we struggle financially.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They think Dad got all the money in the world and all the resources and the answers to every question. And, Dad's the superhero.
Yeah.
So, I love putting on my cape.
Absolutely.
And, keeping my kids out of the struggles that I deal with.
100%.
Not saying that it's okay to, you don't want to be closed off to the point where you're going through things alone and your family is just isolated from the things that you truly go through. There's an opportunity to share, but you got to be discreet about things that you share with your family, especially your kids, because your kids are looking up to you. So it's okay to let your kids know that Dad struggles.
Yeah,
Dad's going through some things, but
Dad's tired.
But Dad's going to overcome. We're going to pray about it. I'm still faithful. I trust God, stuff like that. So they can see that, Dad has issues and stuff sometimes too, but he stays faithful and he's committed. He works hard. He gets up every day and tries again. Right. So you never want to just dump on your kids and be like, the rent's late, the light bill's about to get cut off. I'm not dumping on my kids, but it's okay. If they see that Dad might be frustrated or, a little sad from time to time or dealing with some things. But I love putting on the cape, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just I'm a superhero to them. And, I don't take that lightly. My wife is the same way. She's if anybody's going to figure it out, it's you. She thinks I can do anything anyways. So that ain't no better helpmeet than that. How many times my wife will be on the phone with somebody and I'll just hear her he can do it, or or I'll get a text message about somebody needs you to help them do this or something like that. I told him I'll ask you if you can help them. I'm like, yeah, what makes you think I know how to do drywall? And she just assumes I know how to do everything, right? It's dope though. But my wife, my wife is she's locked in with me. She's got a vision. She's got plans. She's solid with helping me to elevate our family. We got the same vision for our family and where we want to go in life. The kids are all exploring different different parts of their life right now. The youngest ones are just discovering life. They're figuring out what they like to do, what's fun, learning how to read and write and spell and, all the stuff that they're doing in school. It's all exciting for them, right? My middle school daughter is in that transitional stage where she's trying to discover who she is as a person, in the world, where she fits in. At that stage, people get cliquey. People start forming groups and different, you start to separate from people that maybe you were friends with in third grade, but now seventh grade as a middle school kid, you guys kind of aren't on the same page anymore. You develop different friend groups. You start listening to secular music and pop culture, and fashion is more important to you now. Your hairstyle is more important to you now, right? So all those different things. So she's in that stage, and we're helping to navigate her through that. Then I have my oldest two that are like adults, you know, and they're in that early adult stage where, you know, me and my son can talk about the basketball game, but then I'm getting a phone call about car insurance and, you know, how do I pay for this, or what do I need to do this? And yeah, it's like he's figuring out down payments on the car and how to apply for a loan and stuff like that, and getting his first credit card and building credit and all that sort of thing. Like, he's at that stage. So it's like I got everything. I got both ends of the spectrum. I got young adults and I've got, you know, young children, toddler, grade school level kids. So I get a little bit of everything every single day, and it keeps me on my toes, man. Like, I gotta be sharp, right? Because at this stage, like, I never wanted to be the parent that is like out of touch with what my kids are experiencing and going through. Like, you know, like, as technology is changing and advancing, like, I don't want to not be involved with like the stuff that they're doing with ChatGPT and AI and all the different social media platforms that they're using and how they communicate with each other now. You know, all the memes and reels and stuff that get shared. Like, I want to, like, not saying I want to be down with all that sort of thing, right? Because I'm an older generation now, right? I'm an adult. So, like, my level of entertainment and things that's funny and enjoyable for me is different than what my teenage kids are experiencing. But it still doesn't mean that I should be just unaware or ignorant to what they are experiencing and the different apps and tools and stuff that they're using, because a lot of stuff is more dangerous now. So you got to protect your kids from all that sort of thing. You know, and I know what it's like, you know, when I got parents and grandparents and stuff that struggle with smartphones or how to work the remote or how to download an app and things like that. I'm like, I don't want to be that old head that don't know nothing. You know, what's that face Twitter thing, and, you know, what's the Instabook page like, nah, I don't want to be that old, man. So it keeps me on my toes. It keeps me involved with current events, pop culture, what's going on in the world. And, you know, I'm not really caught off guard or surprised by a lot of things that my kids are experiencing. It's different, obviously, because we didn't have social media and technology like that growing up. You know, a lot of us didn't even get cell phones until we were well into our teenage years or early 20s or something like that. And there was no social media, you know. Facebook became popular, like, after I got out of high school. Yeah, MySpace was the first, like, real social media. No, actually, AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh, yes.
With the You've Got Mail.
You've Got
American Online.
Yes.
And you used to have, like, all those little pop-up blocks.
Yes.
You can have, like, 20 conversations at once with your friends.
For sure. I remember that.
You developed your own AOL.com email address.
Yep.
And then when people would come into the chat, it'd be like, like a door was opening.
Yes.
And then when they'd leave, it'd be like, you hear the door shut.
Oh, my gosh.
That was dial-up internet. That was, like, our first, like, real social media.
Yes,
where you got to be in front of your computer. And you could be typing and having conversations with like 10, 15 different people if you wanted to.
That was fun.
And then it evolved into like MySpace.
Yeah.
And that became like the personalized social media where I can like make it my page and put music and different backgrounds. And like that was still the thing, like even when I got arrested.
Yeah.
And then everything transitioned into Facebook while I was away.
Yeah.
So now social media, everything.
Oh, come on,
TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever it's called now. So they got so many different things. They got the new one called Threads. You know, Threads is another type of social media platform. You know, and then you have all the other ones like what's it called? The one that you pay for, like a subscription.
You can pay for all of that?
Not OnlyFans. That's one. That's a wild one. There's another one called.
I heard of that one.
There's Discord. That's not a paid one though. I can't think of the one that you pay for.
Too many out there.
You pay for a subscription for it though.
Too many out there.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, this is the most exciting part of my life. You know, I feel like I'm in my prime. My kids keep me sharp. I'm enjoying it. And like, I know that there's so much more for me to accomplish.
For sure.
And like, even in ministry, like I felt like God was always leading me towards like the non-traditional route of being involved in ministry, of like, you know, like I felt like my plight to ministry wasn't going to be through like going to like a seminary, Bible college, getting a degree or anything like that, starting a traditional 501c3 church, you know, nonprofit, and then having people come to a building every Sunday and stuff like that. I always felt like God was putting me in a position to do ministry more outside of the box.
Yeah.
And like I felt, no, let me rephrase that. I know that God's design and purpose for me in ministry is to be outside of the box, and the preparation for what is to come. So prophetically, like the way that things are unfolding, just in current events right now, I know where we're headed, and then as things move closer and closer to the end times, the return of Christ, the rise of the Antichrist, the New World Order, all those sorts of things that we're familiar with, but we're not really sure what that looks like, how it's going to play out, and all the things that are leading up to those events. A lot of people shy away from the book of Revelation because it's more like scary and gloom and doom and judgment and hellfire and brimstone and all that stuff. You know, the Antichrist and the dragon and all the stuff that it describes in the book of Revelation. So a lot of people can be scared of like reading that. And also it's hard to understand because a lot of it is, you know, it's prophetic metaphors, a lot of different parables and stories and things like that aren't literal, but you have to kind of separate what is literal versus, you know, metaphorical. But just like knowing, like I've read, you know, Revelation, obviously. I'm not an expert in eschatology, but I know enough to understand it and articulate certain things and be able to have a conversation about it. But I know that God has put me in a position to prepare people for the end times. So to put it short, and a lot of things have to do with where we started, history, historical, Genesis, the Old Testament literature plays way more effect into what we read in the New Testament than most people give it credit for. Most people separate old from new and stick more with the new as if this is all we need now. The Old Testament is kind of irrelevant now. But I've never disassociated the two. They both work one and the same. 100%. They're hand in glove. And because of my understanding of Old Testament gives me better revelation and understanding of things prophetic, especially in the book of Revelation. And that's where I know that my ministry and my calling is as a teacher. I'm not saying that I wouldn't, you know, have a building where people can go to worship and learn and things like that eventually one day. But I just know that my route is just not the traditional route. And there's a lot of things that I know and the things that I teach on that kind of breaks through tradition and isn't welcomed or accepted in a lot of the mainstream traditional churches, and I'm okay with that. So, you know, as I grow and get further and further in my life, I know God is going to open up more and more doors for me to be able to have a platform and be in front of people to share those sorts of things and lead people in the way that I'm supposed to.
For sure, and that's exactly what he does. You know, he does things in unorthodox ways sometimes, and people they don't understand it. But that's okay, because then he's going to get the glory at the end of the day. As we're moving up to summer, I know you and your wife, he has a business. So, you know, tell people about that.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? The business and what you're doing right now, and how can we get in touch with Boogie?
Yeah, man. So my wife does, her business is called Lega Mommy Lemonade.
Lega Mommy Lemonade.
So it's a play
Lega
on
Mommy Lemonade.
Yeah, it's a play on her name, Allegra. Right? And as you know, so her two daughters, they're my stepdaughters, right? She had those kids before we got married, but those are my babies, right? So when they were younger, they didn't know, like they couldn't pronounce Allegra's like her name, so they would just say Lega. Or you know, so Wisdom, she would say Lega, and because of that, she became Lega or Leggy as like a nickname. So she's a mom, right? She embraces her role as a mom. 100%. She loves all the babies.
Oh, yeah, she does.
So she's Lega Mommy, and then she started doing Lemonade.
Lega Mommy.
And this was something that I think she just like was just going through different like TikTok or Instagram business pages. Stumbled across some things about, you know, folks that were, selling lemonade and how easy it is. Like, it's a very simple business. It's not very complicated at all. You just have to market it and brand it the right way, get the right equipment, and start getting events going. So we just had an event over this past weekend.
Awesome.
In Millersville. This was like a private event. It was only specifically for a group of people that invited us and the people associated with those people. But we just started off with just getting like the squeezers and everything like that, buying certain equipment, getting a couple cases of lemons, trying out different flavors and buying the syrups and stuff like that. Figuring out, how she would design the logo, the size cups that we would use and things like that, and just thinking outside the box
for sure,
rather than just traditional, the classic lemonade.
Correct.
She put her own spin on it, and we've been doing that as like a side hustle. But we ended up getting it, legit, got the LLC for it and everything like that.
Beautiful.
Got the business bank account and all that stuff going, and got, her safe serve,
nice.
Her certifications and everything so that we can serve, food and drinks publicly. And like, so that's what she does, man. Like, we started off, I think our first event was at a yard sale.
Yeah,
we just set up some tables, put up the sign. As people were buying stuff at these yard sales, they would just stop by and buy a couple lemonades here and there. Lemonade's something that's always, everybody loves lemonade.
Everybody loves it, especially in the summertime.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Right.
And children love flavors.
So we went from yard sale to like vendor events. Where everybody has different tables and stands set up. So somebody over here might be doing like beaded bracelets and stuff. Somebody over here might be having like knickknacks. Another person might have like oils and incense. And here we go with our lemonade stand.
Beautiful.
So, just putting her name out there. She created an Instagram page. So you can go to Legamami Lemonade at Legamami Lemonade. You can go to that on Instagram. TikTok, Legamami Lemonade. It's on TikTok as well. And then it's legamamilemonade at gmail.com for anybody that wants to book us for events.
Nice.
Any type of communication and things like that. We communicate through the email.
Is there Facebook?
No, there's no Facebook page for Legamami Lemonade.
So it's TikTok, it's
Instagram, and the email address.
Okay.
Because we started doing like catering events. Like we would do birthday parties. We haven't done a wedding yet, but we're willing to,
of course,
and we have the means to set up for a wedding, and we do all the different pop-ups and stuff like that.
Yes,
so I think we've got garage sales coming up soon. We've got an event out in Columbia at Mako Park. There's always a basketball tournament and stuff out there, so we're going to be out there. We've got a few other events lined up in May and June and place. And we've actually been down at the Conestoga pool. So I don't even know how my wife got connected with the owner of that pool, but they asked us if we can do lemonade and provide food as well. Because the lady doesn't want to run her concession stand all the time. It's a lot, So we were able to kind of relieve her so she can kind of do what she wants to do and enjoy herself or whatever. And we provided food and drink for the whole pool that day.
Wow,
and sometimes they'll have like different like Friday night, like late night pool swims where they'll have a DJ come out there and,
That's nice.
Different cool stuff and people hanging out all throughout the summer. So yeah, man, I mean, we're all over the place. Any events that will take us, any events that we can prepare for and set up for that we feel like it's going to be a good amount of people out there, we'll come do it.
I tell you this, my children do summer swims, and CV, Conestoga Valley, is one of the teams. Hempfield, obviously Millersville, Lancaster as well, LS, like a lot of those teams that have different swim meets, and it's all in the summertime. So I know that they have events, and they have people out there in the hot sun. They want to have something to drink. So I'm going to make some contact and see if we can connect you guys for sure. You know what I mean? Because it goes from June all the way to August.
Right.
Man, it's at least 2 meets per week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that would be something keep you
that'd be
guys
dope.
busy.
That'd
you
be
know,
dope.
for sure.
Keep us busy for sure.
And children are going to buy.
Yeah, all the time.
Children going to want lemonade, man. Come on now.
Yep.
And so we also do, our podcast.
Yeah, we have our podcast.
Rooted and Ready.
Yep.
Right? So definitely check out Rooted and Ready, like I mentioned earlier, on Amazon Music, Spotify.
Yep.
And soon it'll be an Apple. We're working on that platform as well.
Yep.
And man, I'm excited, man. I love the story that you mentioned, and your story is still being written.
Yeah.
And everybody has a story, and yours was beautiful. Yours is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That was, because your story is still being continued. So I definitely thank you for sharing that.
For sure.
Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for the transparency. The authenticity.
Yeah.
That as you're speaking, I saw when you're talking about your mom, your eyes get, teary-eyed.
Yeah, all the time, man.
And because how much it meant to you. Thank you for letting people know that, okay, you're doing well. But you're letting plain that, like, I'm not well off, but I'm doing well. I'm taking care of my business. I want people to understand that this podcast is not about you being financially rich.
Yeah.
This podcast is not making any money to be played.
Yeah.
But I want people's story to be heard. I want people to hear this and understand that, oh man, I can relate to that. Oh, that's me. I've been through that, right? Because we all in this life, and we all have different areas of our life that we're struggling with and we're going through. But we can all reach somebody else and help somebody else in our story. So thank you for listening to The Story. Check out the podcast when it released. I can't wait for the next one. You guys are going to be excited about the next episode. Thank you. Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time, I'm Wayne, The Story Podcast. We out.